Hey everyone, as the mainstream media is out there telling you that there are no problems with food shortages out there, I'm going to walk you through region by region of the world where we're seeing extreme weather patterns. We're seeing record historic drought down in Argentina, which is a really big deal if you follow the agricultural markets. We're going to be talking about North Africa, which is impacting Europe pretty severely food-wise. East Africa, we're going to be talking about what's happening in China. Pakistan. We're going to be talking about what's happening here in the United States as well. Lots of stuff to cover. Unprecedented droughts and catastrophic losses of agricultural products. We're going to get into all of that and more. Let's jump into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to the Poplar Report. I'm Steve Poplar. I'm an accountant by trade, and on this channel we talk about the things that the mainstream media is either too lazy to talk about or too corrupt. And that is why this channel is important. Let's jump into the facts. So before going abroad to other countries, let's first talk about the United States. We are seeing extreme and exceptional drought across the middle of the United States that is impacting crops in Oklahoma, Kansas, Nebraska, and a large chunk of Texas. Now, if you think about Kansas for a moment here in Nebraska, what happens in Nebraska and Kansas? They grow crops, right? I mean, that's basically what they're known for. That's what they do. Apart from some excursions into the sports world in college football and basketball and stuff like that, we're talking about they grow crops there. And the fact that we have extreme to exceptional drought through much of Kansas will let you know right there that we have a problem. We're seeing, first up, the big thing that we're looking at right now is winter wheat. We got blasted with cold temperatures last year. Remember how it went from like warm to like snow? Freezing cold temperatures hit us before even the snow happened. And normally what happens is we get some snow on the ground to insulate the ground, and then we get the shocking cold. Before we had snow on the ground, we had the shocking cold come through, and a lot of the winter wheat was damaged because of that. And then on top of that, we're talking about these states having exceptional drought as well. So here's what they're saying. Winter wheat in the southern plains is a mixed bag. Some fields are looking good. Of course, not up to yield potential, so good is very relative here. And we have some fields that there is not even wheat there. Didn't come up at all. So that's kind of what we're seeing. We had the harsh winter, dry conditions. Farmers in Kansas are abandoning their entire crop. There was one farmer that was mentioned in a news article, 4,000 acres had to be abandoned completely. Other areas, some of the wheat came up, but they're going to have to cut it for feed for animals because it's not good enough for human consumption. It's not good enough for harvesting. And so what we're seeing is across the central of the United States, the winter wheat has been devastated. And we're not even talking about this yet. We're still waiting for the damage of this omega block, which has caused a lot of cold weather to hang around across a lot of the corn-producing states from Illinois on east, all the way to Ohio and Pennsylvania. We've had a lot of cold weather, which is probably going to affect the corn crop because it damages the germination at the beginning stage there. All right, so things are not looking wonderful in the United States, but not terrible. But let's move down to Argentina. Argentina, the drought there is being called historic and unprecedented. It is the worst drought in 100 years. So we're not talking about a little blip on the radar. We're talking about a big thing. Now, for those of you who are kind of like, well, who cares about Argentina, right? Argentina is the top exporter of soybeans. I know, it catches you by surprise, right? Argentina? Really? Argentina? Yeah. Argentina is the largest exporter of soy, and it's the number 3 exporter for corn. So a lot of this gets on a boat and goes over to China. That's how they get their tofu, and they can do all that. What's happening Argentina is devastating, not only for the agricultural, and we're not going to get into the sociological and economic issues that they're going to have in Argentina, but basically the Argentinian government is on the verge of collapse because of such a bad harvest right now. The central bank there is desperately trying to hold things together. Inflation is running rampant. Worst drought in 100 years. They're projecting the soybean harvest at 27 million tons. Now, to put that in perspective, that's a 50% loss of their soybeans. Like what they were expecting to harvest versus what they're actually harvesting. 50% loss. They've lost over 25 million tons of soybeans that were expected to go onto the market. And they're not because they were lost. Corn has also been devastated. Between soybean, corn, and wheat, all three harvests have been impacted. Remember, they're on inverse schedule than North America, so we're in harvest season right now. This is their fall, okay? They have lost 50 million tons between soy, corn, and wheat. 50 million tons of food. So I guess the question is, you know, where are these 100 to 200 million people who aren't going to be eating this year? Where are they? And that is the reality of the situation. We don't have soybean reserves. We don't have corn reserves. We don't have wheat reserves. They're just, someone's not going to eat. And granted, better off countries, more financially stable countries, countries that can afford to pay more money are probably going to be relatively okay. Where's this really going to hit? Let's go over to Africa. Africa, Tunisia, Morocco, all the countries in the northern parts of Africa are being devastated by drought there as well. In addition to that, East Africa is being pounded by drought as well. Somalia, Kenya, Ethiopia, those places, and North Africa, a lot of that food that's produced is eaten locally. Egypt, same thing. A lot of their wheat harvest is basically just eaten locally. They don't export it. But over in Tunisia as well as Morocco, they do export a lot of that, the vegetables and stuff like that, up into Spain and up into the UK. Spain is hit hard with the drought there as well. As I've said, that's going to hit olives hard again this year. And we don't have time to get into all the rice shortage issues out there, but let's just dabble real fast here on some of the other major hubs of food production that are being impacted by drought or by flooding. China, 2022, they had a massive heat wave come through and it devastated their crops. And this year, we're already seeing record temperatures in central China, and the Chinese government has already issued warnings to farmers and their people that they are expecting a hotter than average year again this year. Average rainfall since October, okay? Average rainfall across all of China is down 60% off the average. That's devastating, folks. Their reservoirs are empty. Even the spring rains are not coming through like they should. This is going to have tremendous agricultural impacts. Now, they don't export food because they got all the people there, right? But when we're talking about food, they produce a massive amount of food, generally speaking. So when we start talking about the crops in China being impacted, any percentage change in the crop harvest of China is going to have a tremendous impact because they're going to have to purchase that food abroad. They're going to have to import that food. And as I've just walked you around the world, where are they going to import this from? Europe is drier than normal. Southern Europe is being hit hard with drought. North Africa is hit with drought. East Africa, drought. The only place that's a bright spot out there right now is Brazil. Brazil is actually showing good numbers for their harvests, so that's good news, but it's not offsetting all the problems we're having everywhere else. Brazil is a big exporter, and that's, like I said, great news there. They don't produce as many soybeans, but we're going to have more corn, and we're going to have, and they don't really do wheat real big there. but we're going to have a lot of corn coming out of Brazil, and we're going to have some soybeans, but it's not going to offset the damage done in Argentina, the United States, and then Pakistan. Pakistan is still reeling from the floods last year. Word is that they're not going to plant nearly as many acres this year because the farmers can't afford the seed because they lost all their money last year, and then two, because a lot of people were killed and a lot of structures were damaged. A lot of damage has happened to the country, and so they're not able to plant this year. They may be taking this year off. We're seeing a heat wave came through northern India and damaged the wheat crop there, and northern Pakistan got hit with the heat wave as well. So we saw wheat harvests down across the country there. Folks, things are not looking good. We are having a tremendous impact from weather relations out there on crops all across the board. We are going to have, they're already talking about a rice shortage this year because rice harvests are down so bad. And it's looking like rice harvests are going to be impacted severely again in 2023. Are you hearing about this in the mainstream media? You're not, because you're not supposed to panic. But folks, you need to be thinking ahead. You need to be buying things up ahead of time right now. You need to be gearing up your production of food where you have it at home. These things are severe and getting more severe. What happens with a bank collapse, right? Things get bad, they get bad, and they get bad, but then finally everyone realizes how bad things are and it collapses like that. We're seeing the same kind of situation with the food supply across the world. Things are bad, they're getting bad, but wait until everyone realizes how bad it is. Then we're going to see some dramatic shifts out there. We're going to see countries locking down their exports. They're not going to export any more food. And countries that don't have it are going to get just blocked out, and they are going to get very upset. We're going to see whole populations that are going to be cut out of the food supply chain, and they're going to be very upset. Here in the United States, what happens when we stop exporting food? We're going to be relatively good in the United States, but all the countries that depend on our exports are going to be fuming mad. And that's not even taking into account anything new or anything a World War III or any other major event that will impact harvests of food around the world or the shipments of food. If we have anything like that, it's going to make it 10 times worse. So should you be getting ready? Should you be stocking up? Yeah, you probably should be. Because all this stuff is coming at us like a freight train. It's not going to be diverted. It's coming right at us. It may look like it's coming slowly at us, but it is indeed coming at us. All right, folks, if you have some things to chime in, please do pop those down in the comments below. If you found this video useful, please hit that thumbs up button to get this out to more people and to make sure that YouTube knows that you like watching these videos. There's another video from me right over here you might want to check out. I'll see you over there, or I'll see you later. Steve Poplar of the Poplar Report, out.